Guys, welcome to another video. I'm Coach Andrew, and today I'm gonna talk about addictions, right? I want to talk about addictions at the most basic, fundamental, chemical level, at least that I understand them, so that you can have a better understanding of your own behavior and understand why you do some of the things you do, probably things that you hate, the fact that you do, and ultimately cultivate more self-discipline and get more control over yourself, your mindset, your actions, and the path of your entire life. Now, the reason I want to talk about addictions is because addictions are really the core at a lot of our repetitive behaviors. You see, when we do something nice, when we do something that we enjoy, we get a release of a neurotransmitter called dopamine. If you are a doctor, a biochemist, or an addiction specialist, feel free to correct me in the comments if I make any mistakes, okay? I'm just repeating what my psychiatrists have told me. I'm repeating what my doctors have told me and what I've read online from reputable sources. But essentially, you get dopamine every time you do something fun, right? If you get a good workout in, you're gonna get dopamine. You eat some sugary food, you're gonna get dopamine. You have sex, you're gonna get dopamine. You see an attractive person and you take a glance, you're gonna get dopamine. Every time you achieve something meaningful, you're gonna get a hit of these neurotransmitters that make you feel good, these endorphins. And anything that can trigger a substantial release of endorphins, essentially has the potential for addictive qualities. Now, I really started learning about dopamine-seeking behavior as a result of being diagnosed with ADHD. Now, what ADHD is, how it works, that's a whole conversation for another video. I do think it's real. No one really knows what causes it. And I do think I've had it my whole life. Has it crippled me? No. Have I used it as an excuse? Only for about a 10-month period. Do I think it makes me special or a victim or anything like that? Yeah, fuck no. But I definitely have it, okay? It's hard to focus, it's hard to work. It took me a long time to get my business working because I couldn't get things done. I tried lots of different stimulants. I tried self-medicating with caffeine. That got completely out of hand. One day, I took my stimulants and I realized my resting heart rate was no longer 62, it was 112. And that was when I told myself no more stimulants because I don't want to die when I'm 50. So I stopped taking stimulants and I kept researching. I kept trying to understand why ADHD does what it does and why I was doing the things that I do in order to please the deficiencies in my brain. And essentially, when you have ADHD, your dopamine doesn't work the way it's supposed to. You don't have as much, interaction with the chemical. And so you don't get pleasure from basic things. You really only get feelings of pleasure from things that are immensely pleasurable. That's why people with ADHD can hyper-focus. They can, if they play a video game they really like, they'll get lost for 8 hours and completely lose track of time. I used to do that when I was a child. I really, really like working out because it gives me endorphins. And so I work out consistently because it makes me feel good and other things can't. And for people with ADHD, when they're doing something boring, like working on a website or doing paperwork, there is literally so little dopamine that it's actually mentally painful to do paperwork, right? Whereas a normal person has a steady supply of dopamine, right? Nothing crazy. It's not like they're eating sugar or doing cocaine, but if they're doing paperwork, there's enough dopamine that they're like, okay, I can focus. A person with ADHD, it just shuts off. There's nothing there, and it's actually painful. Your brain immediately begins searching for something that gives you dopamine. And for some of us, it's just as simple as looking out the window during a class lecture, because the lecture's so boring, but looking out the window, there's clouds. Wow, dopamine. And essentially, this is how I became aware of what dopamine-seeking behavior is, and it's really the root of all addictions. Again, correct me if I'm wrong. The brain is very complex, and there's a lot of things that we don't understand about it. If you want to learn more about the brain, watch some Impact Theory with Tom Bilyeu. He interviews brain surgeons, neuroscientists. Listen to Sam Harris, right? Read some of his books, listen to his podcast. There's a lot of great information out there about brains, and they are fascinating. Just the little bits that we understand. There's so much we don't understand. But brains they develop patterns, right? There are pathways that get reinforced every time you do specific behaviors. And when you're searching for something pleasurable, that's going to reinforce a very strong reward pathway. Because if you get dopamine, your brain wants more of it. Your brain believes that this is a good thing. Because think about our ancestors, right? They didn't have as much food. They didn't live as long. Their lives were not as abundant as ours. They didn't have all the resources that we have. They didn't have all the time and energy that we have. We live lives of luxury. The poorest people in the United States are still in the top like 20% of the wealthiest people worldwide. I mean, we are spoiled rotten. We eat too much, we're lazy, we get things handed to us, right? We're privileged, and it has really ruined our brains. I misspoke. It hasn't ruined our brains, it's ruined us. Our brains are doing what nature taught them to do, but us as people are completely unaware of why our brain has these mechanisms, and so as a result, it ruins us because our brain is just trying to do what it does best. It's trying to look for dopamine. And since we can just grab candy bars and eat them by the handful, our brain wants to do that because our ancestors would have loved candy bars. It would have kept them alive. It would have given them energy to go hunt gazelle, right? It would have helped them live an extra year to have that many calories. They could have fed their family. But for us, we're all fed. Candy bars are just fun. We eat as many as we want, right? And that's a lot of dopamine and a lot of addiction. So we end up with things like sugar addiction, alcoholism, right? People get addicted to everything. Video games, sex, pornography, masturbation, you name it. It's if it gives you a hit, it's good enough to do just about every day to keep you feeling good about yourself, right? But the thing that we find is that after doing these addictive things, right, the dopamine goes away and we end up feeling bad. And this is why so many people are depressed and anxious, because all day long we're getting these crazy surges of endorphins, and every time we get a massive surge, there's a crash afterwards, because these deficiencies, right, they cause deficits. You know, every action has a reaction, okay? And if you're constantly messing with your brain chemistry and causing these huge surges of endorphins, you're going to end up with deficits, and it's going to make you a very unbalanced person, mentally and physically. Now, the scary thing about stimulants and caffeine is, yes, it makes you more awake and more alert. So things like coffee and pre-workout, even caffeine pills, which, yes, I was taking 1 or 2 a day, they help me feel more alert, which helps me focus more, right? Even though I have ADHD, a little bit of caffeine wakes me up. I'm able to focus a little bit more for a little bit longer. It's not fixing the problem, but it does something that helps me. And so as a result, I was getting dopamine. The caffeine was giving me a hit, right? And I became completely reliant upon stimulants. Very unhealthy. Some of you are like this with sugar, with carbohydrates, right? With pornography. Anything that is going to give your brain a chemical reaction that is beneficial or feels good has the potential to become something very negative in your life, and it's going to be something that's very hard to eradicate. This is why addictions are so difficult to get rid of, right? Because every time you do it, you're reinforcing that neural pathway. Those neurons in your brain that are responsible for that surge and that particular behavior, they get strengthened every time you do it, right? And so when you try to stop, your brain is like, this pathway needs to be activated. Like, why isn't it working today? Work. And you're sitting there like, oh, I need sugar. And I don't really know what the best way to stop addictions are. I'm not an addiction specialist, and you should see a specialist if you have addiction problems of any kind. Talk to your doctor, find a counselor, a therapist. I am not your answer. I'm a business coach, okay? I'm a strength coach. I don't do this for a living, but this stuff is useful. So this is where I'm going to bring it around 360 here, okay? So you've made it this far in the video. Now I want you to ask yourself, what do I do on a daily basis that is habitual, right? What are the things that I do every day, like all the time? What are the things that kind of pop into my mind when I'm stressed? What are the things that pop into my mind when I'm being really negative, when I'm depressed or anxious? How do I make myself feel better? What are my coping mechanisms? Let's rephrase it again. What are my dopamine-seeking behaviors? What are my addictions? If you can answer that question, congratulations, you just reached a new level of self-awareness. Now you need a plan, because if you have bad addictions, if you have bad dopamine-seeking behaviors, you'll be better off without them. You need to eliminate them. This is going to help stabilize the chemicals in your brain. It's going to stabilize your emotions, and it's going to stabilize your life, right? You as a person. It's going to allow you to develop new habits, right? Develop positive coping mechanisms like exercise and communication. It's going to help you take back control of your life, okay? So if you're addicted to something bad, how do you get rid of it? Well, there's a couple things that I would suggest. The first thing that I would suggest is cognitive behavioral therapy. Now, you're probably best off finding a specialist to help you with this. I mean, like, you obviously are best off finding a psychologist or someone who can help you do this. But what I did when I wanted to get off of my stimulants was I went online and I searched cognitive behavioral therapy worksheets. And I printed out like 30 CBT worksheets where they basically ask you questions like, what are the triggers? What things make me want to do bad things, right? How do I feel when I see these things? What do I think when I see these things? And then it asks you to develop a new response. So like, how are these actions having negative consequences in my life? What could I be thinking instead that would be more positive and help me cope better? What kinds of actions could I take that would help me cope better and be more positive, right? And then you basically draw out a battle plan using these worksheets. And next time you have a bad stimulus, so maybe you get depressed, someone says something mean to you, you're stressed, you're tired, and like your brain's going like, ooh, I really want to take pre-workout, or I really want to eat some sugary food, or I want to go look at porn. Whenever you start feeling that impulse, you look at these worksheets and you walk yourself through this logical sequence of thoughts. And if you were honest and your answers were strong enough, you should be able to rationalize yourself out of most addictions, right? There are certain chemical addictions that are very strong, like alcoholism, narcotics. You need to go to rehab if you have one of those, right? But if you're addicted to something minor, if you just have destructive habits, doing some self-administered CBT can probably really help you. I took my CBT worksheets, I typed them up for myself, and I reworded them, and I rebranded them, and I give them to my clients now. If I have clients who have dopamine-seeking behaviors and like little addictions that are interfering with their business practice, I make them do CBT worksheets. It works, okay? Another thing you can do, and some of you might not like this, is to just come clean about it. If you're hiding things from your spouse, right, your significant other, maybe you used to live with your parents, come clean. Say, hey, mom, dad, honey, got a problem. Whenever I feel this way, I do this, and I want to stop. Can you help me? And if you have good relationships in your life, and the people in your life who you consider close, if they're worth a damn, they're going to help you. And they'll say, yeah, let's purge the kitchen. Let's get rid of all the sugar, right? Let's turn off the internet. And then you create an accountability partner, right? You create a social support system. This is like how Alcoholics Anonymous works, okay? It's really effective stuff. Create an accountability system, right? Check in with them every day, have them monitor you. And if you can just get through the period of time that your brain needs to start reinforcing the positive coping pathway and the negative bad pathway starts kind of atrophying and shutting down a little bit, and your brain gets that chemical rebalanced, right? If you can make it that amount of time, it becomes exponentially easier. Now for caffeine, it was something like, I think around day 7 with no I just stopped cold turkey. And around like days 1 through 4 were horrible. I slept the entire day. But around day 7, my desire for caffeine disappeared, and I felt amazing. I had energy throughout the entire day because my brain healed itself, right? That negative pathway that was causing all these horrible feedback loops, huge energy, huge crash, huge energy, huge crash, dopamine, no dopamine. That stopped, and my brain leveled out, right? So if you can just reach that point, you can eliminate these dopamine-seeking behaviors, these little addictions. You can get rid of these problems, right? That's going to make you better at everything, virtually everything. Better at your relationships, better at your job, better as an entrepreneur, better as a coach, better as fitness enthusiast, whatever it is you do, it's going to help you. It's going to give you more self-awareness, more self-control, more self-discipline. And most importantly, it's going to build your self-credibility, because if you can cut out the stupid shit that you've been doing your whole life and actually have some self-control, hey, guess what? You're going to start believing in yourself, right? Because you can do this. You're totally capable of this. This is not that hard, right? And other things in life that once seemed daunting, all of a sudden really aren't that hard. It's a pretty great thing. So anyways, I invite all of you to take a hard look at your life and ask yourself, what am I doing that isn't necessarily productive, kind of makes me feel bad, maybe disrupts my moods, my emotions, my sleep cycle, makes me tired, makes me feel awful, anything that's kind of not too sure about that. And ask yourself, why am I doing it? And if you're doing it because it makes you feel good and it's a coping mechanism, I challenge you to get rid of it. All right? Hope that was helpful. I'm Coach Andrew. I talk all the time, and I also answer questions from my viewers. So if you have a question about life, relationships, fitness, business, mindset, productivity, anything like that you would ask a life coach or a business coach, leave it in the comments or shoot it to the email in the description down below. You can also check out my website, andrewwoolner.com, to learn more about me, what I do, what I offer in terms of services and products. And be sure to subscribe to the channel. I appreciate each and every one of you who does. I try to release videos as often as I can that are helpful to as many people as possible. And I love you. You can do it. Okay? We'll talk in the next video. Take care, guys.